Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graeme Spice, and Glen Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur with both the match attending and international supporters' view. This episode will cover the West Ham game on Saturday and a preview of the Dortmund game on Tuesday with our special guest, German football writer Ben McFadyean. A lot to get through. Let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Glenn, are you good?
I'm all right, mate. Could have been better after the West Ham defeat, which I know we need to cover. But as I said off air, we will cover it very briefly because we've got a great guest. So I want to get to that content sooner than discussing yet another home defeat. But yeah, I'm broadly okay. And you're going well, Graeme?
I am numb to the football, I guess, at the moment. It's got to the stage where I don't really have any good big feelings in the house. Yesterday, it was my daughter's birthday and we had got a house full, but me and Josh snuck off to watch the match and all everyone heard was lots of swearing, which is unsurprising given how badly it went again. But yeah, I'm okay. Generally, I'm pretty good. Thank you.
And we're pivoting.
I was just going to say welcome to Ben. Thanks for coming on. Really good to speak with you.
And we're looking forward to some of your insight and content shortly.
Ben is a London-based German football writer. He writes for publications including 442, World Soccer Talk, Golf News and One Football. And he's been going to games in the Bundesliga since the 1990s. So welcome. Thanks for coming on, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks for that. That's about the sum of it. Yeah, not bad for a Sunday morning. Thanks a lot for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming. So we'll talk quickly about the West Ham match. I think it's something that we and myself and Glenn want to get off our chests very quickly, and we don't want to talk too much about it. So apologies for that. And if anything, it's some foreshadowing for the game on Tuesday, because I'm not feeling particularly optimistic. Let's put it that way. So, Glenn, did you watch the game?
Yeah, I did. I watched it on a pretty significant delay because it was a 2 a.m. kickoff for me. So I watched it on Sunday morning, mid-morning. Looked pretty disappointing. Very poor first half again. Not a lot of energy. Obviously, the injury to Ben Davies was disappointing. Looks a bad one, which is a real pity because it might be his last game in a Spurs shirt given his age and coming to the end of his career. But yeah, I did watch the game. I mean, I felt sorry for Gallagher. Not that he played particularly well, but a debut in those circumstances has got to be challenging. The club seems pretty toxic. The stadium seemed pretty toxic, and just poor performance. And a poor goal, a really poor goal to give away from the winner's point of view, from West Ham's goal that won it. Just scrappy, annoying errors that led up to it, with Romero being caught up the pitch. But apparently he was injured as well. So really long way of answering your question there, Graeme. Yes, I watched it. Yes, it's disappointing. And where to from here with Frank, we will see.
Well, given that there are a number of reporters outside the training ground this morning and have been since early hours, leads me to think that there's no smoke without fire. There's something going on there. There's definitely an executive meeting happening to review his position, I think. Whether or not they'll pull the trigger or not feels like an unusual time to do it, given that we're only 2 days away from a Champions League match, quite an important one in terms of deciding progress in the tournament. But don't know whether letting him continue with the team is the right decision or not. I mean, I spoke to my son Thomas briefly before we started recording, and he said, "I'll speak to you later, but just get one thing across on the podcast: Frank out." And I've seen that a lot. I think that people have had enough of the performances. So whilst we said it, we would like to have a bit of continuity with management. I'm not sure that he's going to get the time. I think that the tide has turned against him. He's lacking support.
Whatever the outcome is long term, in terms of what the plan is or what happens, quite frankly, that can be discussed in the summer. We probably just need a change. We need an interim, and we need good football to watch again. Exciting football to watch, something that's going to get us out of our seats and actually get us excited to support Spurs. And that is not it under Frank at the moment. And especially, it's a bit unforgivable. Losing to West Ham is always annoying, but losing to that West Ham team that haven't won since November 2nd.
Well, it's an incredible 3 points for West Ham, isn't it, given the state they're in?
Yeah, it's huge. They haven't won since November 2nd.
But we made Somerville look like prime Ronaldo. It was... I don't understand how, a bunch of international players can look so poor.
Yeah.
And it can't. I mean, definitely there are players who are underperforming, right? That's definitely happening. But set up right, we've just not. And I can't put my finger on one thing. I don't think it's one thing, but we just don't. In defence, we look porous, and in attack, we look blunt.
Yeah,
awful.
Yeah, pretty disappointing across the board, really. I thought Archie Gray did okay, if I'm going to try and pick any positives out of the game. I thought Archie Gray was like he cared, he was chasing down. And also, the same could be said for Van der Ven. I thought he made one particular interception where he made up some ground and then absolutely put in a world-class tackle, won the ball to prevent the shot being go off. But it's just in little patches and in little spurts of play that we look okay, but then on the whole as a collective look a bit shit. And also, one thing I want to add is, I'm not sure I don't subscribe to that school of thought where he's come out and said the squad is threadbare. I think we've got a lot of injuries, but let's look at the bench. Bergvall, Basuma, Danso, Dragasing, Kinski, Scarlett, Solanke, Spence, Udogi. It's not really a threadbare bench, is it? I mean, if you think what Ange had to put up with last season when there was names on the bench that we'd never frankly seen or heard of because they were kids, I mean, that's not threadbare. I mean, we've got injuries.
I think even it's worse than that, right? It's that, yes, we could bring people on and the level wouldn't drop, but the problem is that the level's so low to start with. I like, if you like for like compare, think of the 16-17 season team for under Poch and compare the players. I don't think there's anyone in this team that gets in that team. None of them.
No.
You know, maybe
also,
you could make an argument for Van der Ven, maybe, but
yeah. But one player that I was really disappointed with, I think I was disappointed with a lot of players and just the whole collective, but was Mwani. What he offers, he looks quite weak. He wasn't holding the ball up well. I need to get your view on Kolo Mwani. Like, I thought he was pretty poor. I don't think he held the ball up. He looked like he got out-muscled. I don't really know what we've got there. Like, for me, he hasn't scored a Premier League goal yet, has he? Like, he doesn't look like a player that...
No. Again, is it just the way that we're playing as well? I mean, is he the kind of player where he wants the ball in behind to run onto? He's not someone... He doesn't strike me as someone who wants to play with his back to goal.
Correct.
Again, are we trying to force a bunch of way into, an alien way of playing for them where we're not... It's a bit like, Xavi Simons effective when he's having to drop deeper to pick the ball up because we're not progressing the ball. Yeah. Probably not.
And for what it's worth, I thought the first 10 minutes, I thought Tell was actually doing all right, but he got taken off.
Yeah, me too.
He didn't seem happy at all, did he, when he got taken off?
No. Don't think he was doing anything wrong. He got that decision got booed.
Yeah. It rings true, which is kind of ironic, to when Nuno took Mora off. I can't remember who that was against now.
Yeah. When he was he was the best player on the pitch at the time. The only one who looked up for it, and then,
Yeah. But Michael Dawson, he was cut to in Soccer Saturday or whatever it is. He was apoplectic. Like, he got on Tottenham, that lad. Like, he still loves Spurs. And he was like, this is a London derby. Like, this is West Ham. Like, you get yourself up for this. Like, they have. He goes, it's unforgivable. Like, on that, putting in that level of performance. But again, we had it against Villa, first half. Absolute shite. And then the second half...
Half of our games this season, we've absolutely just not turned up till half time.
It's constant and it's not improving. Yeah. I can't name you a player. But again, we're now reading on BBC Sport, Spurs chiefs consider Frank's future as there. But it goes back to what I said before we started recording. We've just hired a number 2.
And this is on a rolling contract or something.
Right. It's just weird to me because 9 times out of 10... or maybe it's 8 times out of 10, I don't know with Spurs, but when you fire a manager, generally all of the staff go with him. We didn't do that with Conte, of course, because Stellini was kept and then it finally was off. Or does he get made into...
Or is he the caretaker? Yeah.
But that hardly gets my... Like, from a point of view of exciting football and enjoying watching Tottenham again, I couldn't tell you what kind of style Heitinga plays. I don't know. Was that Liverpool when they won the league and he didn't do so well at Ajax? He ran
the Ajax academy. The Ajax youth players. He's coached. He's been number 2 at Everton as well. So he's played here. He knows the Premier League. He's been a number 1 at Ajax. Yeah. Didn't go well, but then I think that club had similar problems that we've got in that the investment in the team has been for a long time.
So it's going to be certainly in days out if they do make a change. Who comes in as interim? Because I can't imagine we're going to appoint a full-time manager. They're probably going to do similar to what Man United. But yeah, not happy, not a good result yet again. and just lots of change needed. I think lots of change needed. You didn't go, right? I forgot to ask you that.
No, it was it's Charlotte's birthday, and
that was right. Yeah,
we had a kind of family get together.
Now, looking ahead, of course, we don't know who the hell's going to be in charge. Well, it would lead you to believe that it probably is Frank because he's not been sacked as of yet. But we've got Dortmund at home on Tuesday night, so there's not a lot of time between now and this current setup, this current manager, this current team, this current way of approaching games of football. I can see only a Dortmund win. I mean,
100%. I don't. Yeah. I've almost no interest in watching it. I'm that sure that we will lose.
Yeah.
I just think it's that bad. And West Ham are abysmal. They are really, really poor, and we made them look like prime Barcelona against a good team, a good attacking team who will come at us. I don't see how we be keeping it in below a cricket score will be a good thing.
Well, I touched on it before the recording, but we actually have identical records in the Champions League. I think we both sit on 11 points. We've both got a goal difference of +6. And we've both won 3. We've amassed those 11 points. We've won 3, we've drawn 2, and we've lost 1. So we've got identical records. Dortmund's last out league was a 2-2 draw against Bodo, and they've got us, and they finished at home. They finish at home to Inter, and then we finish away to Frankfurt. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I don't see much more than a defeat.
Did you hear? Unfortunately, we had quite a number of technical issues with the recording of the podcast today. And in the end, I had to do an audio recording with Ben, which I think is definitely worth listening to. So I'll be putting it in here. So thanks. Bear with us. Sorry about the problems. Cheers. Right. There we go. I'm recording.
Good.
So Ben, thanks for joining us. Obviously, we talked that you're a long-term Bundesliga attendee. Just interested. We are Tottenham are coming off the back of a number of really poor performances at home, and our expectations are quite low at the moment. There's a lot of talk about whether the manager will survive or not. How has Dortmund's preparations been for the game on Tuesday? How have they been performing? What's the current state of the league at the moment? Just a little bit about how we get to Tuesday for them.
Yeah, I mean, basically they've come off the back of a 3-2 win yesterday. Got a penalty very late in the game, which Emre Can, the former Liverpool player, scored, and captain of BVB. They were delighted with the win, obviously, although against a lowly team, San Pauli, but Dortmund often seem to struggle against underperforming sides. Pauli are in their second season up in the top tier and struggling very much. And yeah, I think difficult times ahead for the Hamburg club, but Borussia basically haven't lost a game now they've lost one game since the beginning of October, so I don't think they're doing too badly. And that was when they were smashed at the City ground. So yeah, it's a place you can lose.
Yeah,
it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. And yeah, they're second in the table, but very much 7-8 points behind league leaders Bayern Munich, who under former Burnley manager Vincent Kompany, which everyone knows. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? Basically, it's a very challenging league to play because at the moment it's basically a one club league. So Dortmund are always up there fighting, and they're 7 points ahead of Leipzig, who got absolutely smashed yesterday.
Wow.
5-1 by Bayern.
For me, it's always a really interesting league because I purely on pure money, Munich should walk it every season. They have by far the biggest budget for any team in the league. But Dortmund consistently have been performing at a very good level. They seem to have a really good recruitment team. They seem to find real gems and develop them. I've always been impressed by that. You can go back probably over the last 10 years. I could think of a number of times where the teams have been very, very strong. And even after losing players, they seem to find a way to rebuild and still be competitive, which is something I think we always struggle with here. And some of the teams in the Premier League certainly struggle with that.
Yeah, I think that's about right. If you look back at the history, Mario Götze, Robert Lewandowski, Shinji Kagawa, Erling Haaland, Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham. Dortmund have always been a club which have managed to identify young talents, often nowadays also including from the Premier League academies, and basically develop them. Sometimes it goes right, sometimes it goes wrong. It's not rocket science, but they certainly have a very, very good academy, and they pay a lot of attention to that, and they're very, a lot of care and detail goes into looking after those young players. And I think that's what their achievements are, basically, is being able to rebuild every season, as you say, and also maintain a core of loyal players that basically keep the club sound. So it's a very sound setup. It's a very popular club. Highest average attendance in the world, 81,000.
Oh, wow, that is pretty big.
Which is capacity attendance. Yeah. It's a club which has basically got its thing worked out, and unfortunately it's in the same league with Bayern Munich, who are basically, in terms of money, a Premier League club. So that's what makes it challenging for us.
Yeah, I'm also interested as well because I think that the depth in the Bundesliga isn't as strong, for instance, as the Premier League, purely because of even the team that finishes last in the Premier League gets so much money that it's obscene. So I'm always interested that both Dortmund and Bayern Munich seem to always be able to get themselves up for big European matches. That must be quite difficult if you're playing a lot lesser teams sometimes during the week. Whereas the Premier League teams are every game is a potential banana skin, right? There's no team that couldn't get a result at some point. So that must be quite difficult.
I would agree with that. I mean, there's a handful of teams at the top of the Bundesliga who are outstanding and can compete on European level, from RB Leipzig to VfB Stuttgart to Eintracht Frankfurt and Bayer Leverkusen. But then if you go down from the bottom half of let's say the bottom 10 clubs of the 18 league Bundesliga, then you're basically dealing with clubs that on average would certainly struggle in the Premier League, and some of them might struggle in the Championship. So it is basically a two-tier league, the Bundesliga. That's exactly right. And from that perspective, Dortmund has it easy because they don't have that much competition. But on the other hand, as I mentioned, there are half a dozen teams, basically the teams that are competing for Europe season after season, which this season includes Hoffenheim again once more, and in the past has also included clubs like Wolfsburg and so on, which are names that are known to people in who are interested in football over here. And I mean, it's it's a challenging league, but it's not the Premier League, and I think everyone in Germany is aware of that.
But I not talking specifically about the game on Tuesday, but for me, the whole Bundesliga seems to be a much more fan-oriented league. Like, I think over here it's become way too commercialized, way too focused on TV revenue, and also the cost of attending a match here is obscene. Again, it's massive. Like I have one of the cheapest season tickets at Tottenham, and it's over £1,000 a season.
Amazing.
And that's not the case in Germany, right? So the tendencies are great, but the pricing is fair, I think, and I think that helps a lot. And it also means that you're not pricing traditional football supporters out of the game, which I think is happening here.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm in England and I have free time, I go to non-league clubs like Dorchester and Wimborne Town, which you mentioned before the show. You have a local connection with, and it's really nice to see the big attendances nowadays in non-league. I mean, you're getting sometimes up to 100, up to 1,500 fans going to seventh tier, which doesn't happen in Germany. So I think that the smaller clubs have kind of benefited in a way in England from what's going on at the top. And once you combine in the travel that you might have, let's say I live on the south coast, getting up to London, let's say, plus the cost of the ticket and everything else, it's basically cheaper to go out to Dortmund or Leverkusen or Bochum or any of the German clubs because the Ryanair flights are so cheap. So from our perspective as people who follow Bundesliga, who go out to Germany, it is cheap. It is cheap. I mean, I paid £18 for the last game that I went to against Werder Bremen on Tuesday night. And I mean, that's very, very cheap, basically.
That's
18 euros.
that's like a pie and
18
chip. That's a
euros.
pie and a bovril at Tottenham.
Yeah. Yeah, it is
Wow.
cheap. And also the clubs are 51% owned by the fans as well. So all of them except for two of them, basically, which are owned by big companies, Leverkusen and
Leipzig.
Leipzig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Interesting. I mean, for me, it's just. I think we've lost our way a little bit over here. I think it's become, and it's getting worse. I mean, we talked a little bit a couple of episodes ago about American individuals and entities investing even in like championship and lower level teams, and that they don't do that for the love of the game. So there's something going on in terms of the commercialization of the game over here that people think they're going to make money out of it, which.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you on if you look at it on balance, basically the German game, they've got it right because the clubs are making a profit. 90% of the clubs make a profit every year. Borussia Dortmund, for example, have made approximately 30 million pounds profit for the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And they haven't missed a European season, I think, for about 15 years. So basically, what you're seeing in Germany is low ticket prices. The most expensive season ticket at Borussia Dortmund, for example, would be about £600 in the sort of VIP area. And then the cheapest one would be about £100 for a disabled person on the yellow wall.
That's incredible. I mean, that's £100 is a like category A West Side ticket at Tottenham for a normal match. It's like for one match, not the season.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, I suppose you're right, Graham. I mean, the advantage is essentially that the clubs are fan owned, the clubs are profitable, tickets are cheap, and it's a very good and free atmosphere in the stadiums. You know, they've got obviously the choreos going, the ultras going, you know, the songs, the very warm atmosphere, and you can have a beer and a smoke right in front of the pitch. I mean, it's you know, they do things right, and I think in that respect, you know, I mean, they may not be winning the World Cup at the moment. I think England have got a better chance of that this summer, but they've certainly got a lot right when it comes to club football.
But
and I think
it did take
German fans
I was just going to
can
say,
accept that.
we might have a chance, but it is with a German coach. So
Yeah, well, there you are.
Interesting. So just coming back to the game on Tuesday, I looked at both teams. I think actually we've got almost identical performances so far in the league phase. So I think we're both on 11 points. I think you're 10th, Dortmund are 10th, we're 11th on goal difference, I'm assuming. And I think Dortmund have got Inter in their last game after this one as well. So, and we've got Frankfurt, right. so another German team that we've met recently, obviously, because we played them in the quarterfinals of the Europa League last season.
Yeah.
So both got tough games after this, I would say. I think whichever team is going to make it and try and make it into the final 8, right, and not have to play a playoff stage games, is probably going to need to win both of those matches. And personally, I'm not confident that Tottenham have got what it takes to win either match. So I can see us in the playoffs without even thinking about it too hard. I'm worried about the game on Tuesday from a Tottenham perspective because our home performances, we've basically been turning up at half time, but then also lapses of concentration in the second half have led to late goals on at least 2 or 3 occasions in the last few weeks. And the way that I don't expect Dortmund not to come at us, and I think that we're there for the taking. If I'm honest, I'm not super positive. But then stranger things have happened. We've had games where we've done things that we didn't expect. But yeah, my based on the experience of the last sort of 10 matches, I can see Dortmund comfortably winning on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you look at the Tottenham squad and you've got some real Bundesliga quality there. Kolomuani, Xavi Simons, Matis Tel, players that have come basically from top clubs in the Bundesliga and players that like Kudus that Dortmund had wanted for a long time, Palhinha as well, another one. And then when you look at players like Richarlison and Van der Veen, those are players that Dortmund can't even begin to imagine signing. And this is the second best club in Germany by a country mile.
Yeah.
So, I mean, essentially our Borussia Dortmund squad value is 500 million compared to yours, which is approaching 1 billion euros. And it just shows that, the kind of money you need to succeed in the Premier League is astronomical compared to top leagues like Liga, La Liga and Bundesliga.
But even the money doesn't guarantee success, right? Because I think that what we've been bad at in the last 10 years is squad building. I think there was an interview that Pochettino did probably in his last season where he talked about the need to completely refresh the squad, and what he said was right. I think there was that need, and we did not invest. And when we did invest, we did not improve the players that we were replacing. And that's continued over. And we've ended up with a squad of players who have, some of them have been there for, like, we were working it out that I think like Ben Davies is the longest serving player in the squad. He's played under like 8 coaches or something.
Yeah.
And that amount of change means that you're building teams for a specific way a manager wants to play, and then throwing it all away every 12 months. And that's not conducive to good squad building or long-term sustainability for the club. And not great.
Well, I'm amazed to see the way after winning the European trophy that your club and also your opponents yesterday, West Ham, haven't basically reinvested the money in a good way to be able to rebuild. And I really hope that that this season improves. But I think the thing is, if you look at German football, you'll find that there are coaches that stay with the clubs for a very long time. I mean, Thomas Schaaf was with Werder Bremen for 12 seasons. For example, Frank Schmidt at Heidenheim's been there for 18 years, So these are Dario Grady at Crew Alex type commitments that clubs have to managers that give them a chance. I mean, Jurgen Klopp was at Borussia Dortmund for 8 seasons,
Yeah.
Give a coach the time to basically develop it. I mean, I look at Thomas Frank? It's
Yes.
Thomas Frank, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Who did an incredible job at Brentford, but he took his time. He was given the time to rebuild the club. And, you're talking about Eintracht Frankfurt, and that's another club which is basically, they've had time to rebuild and they're really building. And I think, they're going to be a very strong club in the future. But, I think the problem with England is that it's driven by agents, Graham. And it's driven by basically people who want to make a quick buck, as you say, who want to make money out of it, who want the cash flow and so on. And it's not really a fans' league, the Premier League, at this point, I think. So, in my opinion, the attraction of the Bundesliga is that sense of there still being an integral fan culture at a price that people can afford. So I think it's a very attractive league. But, I mean, there's a lot of fans of the Premier League in Germany, I can tell you that.
And I think this is something it's one of the reasons this podcast exists, that we have the international supporters groups on from all around the globe. We've had people from New Zealand and the US and India and Hong Kong. And so we have this massive international following because the club has, and actually, funnily, one of our guests, David, who is in Hong Kong, he wrote a thesis on this as part of his PhD.
Nice.
About the expansion of the Premier League from a financial perspective and the impact not only on the growth of the game in other countries, but also what the impact of that is on the local supporters, who become almost a second thought because the money's all on the international rights, as opposed to the families who are third, fourth generation Tottenham supporters coming through the turnstiles on a match day. So it's an interesting discussion, and that's one of the reasons I really like the German model, where the supporters are still 51% owners, because we talk about the owners being custodians of the club, but that's really true in Germany. Over here, it's lip service that they pay, whilst they're
trying to build their real estate empires around the club or whatever else it is they're doing, and that we see happening in North London anyway. So
yeah, no, I can see that. I can see where you're coming from there, and obviously English fans deserve a better deal, and I think that's why it's important to be aware of other leagues and what's going on. I mean, even Real Madrid and Barcelona are fan owned, so there's some good stuff going on. Yeah, it's true.
So historically, there's been a lot of shared players between Tottenham and Dortmund as well, right? We've had a few players that have played for both clubs.
Absolutely right. Yeah, Boateng, KP Boateng, Stefan Freund, Ivan Perisic. There have been a few players that have played at both clubs. That's right. And then, of course, a lot of German fans know Jurgen Klinsmann intimately and respect his achievements as well. So, yeah. I mean, you've had other German players as well. Christian Seeger.
Oh, yeah, he was
great. Played for you as well.
Yeah, we have. And actually, they've always been really solid players for us. I was really disappointed with Kevin Prince Boateng. I really liked him. But I just think that it was a bad time at the club, and I think he had a bit of a falling out, and he ended up moving on. But he went on to have a very good career after he left us anyway. So, yeah. It's also very strange that he and his brother play for different countries.
Well, that's the advantage of being dual nationality, I guess, at the end of the day.
Indeed. Yeah, so there's also...
Talking about the Champions League. Go
ahead.
They're talking about the Champions League. I mean, what are your thoughts basically ahead of Tuesday?
So we don't have a lot of options to rotate the team based on what we played yesterday. We have so many injuries again. I think we've probably got 8 or 9 first team squad players out. So did see Udogi's been on the bench for a couple of matches, so maybe he comes in as left back because Ben Davies was injured and we don't really have a lot of cover for that. So he might be someone who comes back in if he's fit enough. Then it'll be probably a back four of him, Van der Ven, Romero, and Porro at right back. Midfield, probably. I don't know if Conor Gallagher can play yet because he's only just signed for us this last week. I'm not sure whether he can only register to play in the Champions League after this stage is finished. So unlikely he can play.
Right.
So then we're very light in terms of midfielders. Palhinha's injured. I got injured before the West Ham game, so wasn't even in the squad. Archie Gray played on yesterday, and he's likely to be available and probably will start. Bergvall also played in the second half, so he's likely to be available. But it's quite a young midfield. It's like a couple of 19-year-olds, which I would be concerned about. There's not a lot of experience. Maybe Bissouma could play some part, but he's kind of had fallen out of the club before he went away on AFCON duty. He's had a problem with timekeeping, which the manager didn't appreciate, and also he got caught inhaling nitrous oxide.
Laughing gas.
Yeah, so and it's the second time he's been caught doing
kids will be kids.
Yeah, but he's he's an experienced international footballer. I don't know what motivates people to do that kind of stuff. But hey, but he did come on and play yesterday, and he was quite good when he came on. So he's a decent player in there. He just lacks application, I think. So maybe he'll get some game time. But I'm not even sure if he's registered for the squad, to be honest. He might not even be in the Champions League squad, as I recall.
Yeah. Well, the situation's fairly decent. I mean, you've worked your way into a fairly decent position. You've got Atletico, Liverpool, Real, Inter, Atalanta, Dortmund and Spurs all eyeing those last couple of positions in the table. And basically it depends a lot on you getting some kind of result against Dortmund, because
Sure.
I think Frankfurt are beatable for Spurs. They've had a very, very inconsistent season. You don't know which Frankfurt's going to turn up on the night.
Yeah.
Frankly, I do think that Spurs have got a chance to pick up 3 points. So I think a lot depends on this game, and obviously you're coming in off the back of a loss against West Ham, which is unfortunate. And at the end of the day, it very much depends on what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, this will be the worst possible time to let go of Thomas Frank. I think, you really need to go in with confidence, knowing that there's a lot to play for, including a lot of money. And obviously the owners of the club will be aware of that. So, hopefully you'll be able to go into the Dortmund game with some renewed confidence. And also, but Dortmund are a hard team to grind down, and it's going to be a challenge, I think. So, yeah, it'll be a very interesting game. And I think a lot of Dortmund fans certainly are very excited about the stadium and, seeing what your so-called, yellow wall or what you develop behind the goal. It's very exciting to see that and see basically the new stadium. So, yeah, it's a big game. Yeah, that's another wonderful big European night.
I think this will be Dortmund's first trip to the new stadium, right? So I think
I think
the last two times we played, I think we were at Wembley, and then the Europa League game a time before that when we got beaten home and away. I think we were at the old stadium still.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was at the White Hart Lane game. I was at the Wembley game as well. And we were Dortmund took a beating for sure. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can recover their position on Tuesday night. They're going in with a full squad, and it's going to be a great game. Basically,
anyone in the squad do you think we should look out for? Anyone who's really been standout this season?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer. I mean, I would say that on a negative side, the main scorer, Cyril Guirassy, has had a very spotted season this year. Mm-hmm. But then he just managed to get a goal earlier this week against Bremen, and maybe he's back. So, I mean, Borussia Dortmund have got a very sound squad. They've got an exceptional back line with Nico Schlotterbeck and Waldemar Anton and Daniel Svensson. Gregor Kobel in goal, who I think is one of Europe's best goalkeepers. And I mean, Borussia Dortmund are unpredictable, I would say. It's very difficult to know, but one thing's for sure is they're going to be putting in the maximum effort, and they know what's at stake. And I hope that they will be in the top 8 at the end of when the dice have been rolled. But watch out for Nemetcha, who is obviously an ex-Manchester City player. It's got a lot of quality. Also, Rami Benzebaini is another player who's, as you said, has come back from international duties. Marcel Sabitzer is a player who's Austria international, fairly unpredictable. I mean, it's difficult to say. I think Maxi Bayer, who was a striker at the front, a young Germany international, he is a player who's highly unpredictable and, who could certainly have a blast. So, yeah, it's hard to say, basically.
Has Joe Bellingham been playing much?
No, Joe Bellingham has not been playing. He's been getting a lot of run-outs, but he hasn't achieved that much.
Right. Because there was quite a lot of noise earlier in the season. I think he's quite vocal, I think. I maybe off the pitch, and not so much on the pitch.
Well, I mean, I think the expectations from the family are very high. I mean, interestingly enough, Mark Bellingham is the all-time leading scorer in amateur football. I think he scored 700 goals.
Wow!
And basically, they brought up both of them, Jude and Job, in that spur. And I think at the end of the day, there's a very high expectation of Job, and he's still very young. And it's a lot to ask from him. But I think he'll make his way, and I think Dortmund will give him the time. They've invested a lot of money in him. Yeah. 30 million for Dortmund is an incredible investment. Yeah. It puts him right up there with people like Mats Hummels and Erling Haaland in terms of investment.
And I have to say that it's been really interesting. Certainly, if you think like with that the number of young English talents that have ended up at Dortmund, they've been very clever. They've picked up players, but the difference is that they've really nurtured them and they've developed them
That's it.
Which is something I think we've been awful at. Like we pick the players up and then we kind of block their pathway to the team, and they never get the experience that they need in the first team to really grow as players. Whereas I see that they're trusted to go out there and play, and it's really
That's
helped.
right.
It's helped
That's a
help
good
the
point,
England
Graeme.
team.
Yeah,
There's a number of England players that obviously have played for Dortmund and have ended up as full England internationals.
yeah, that's right. Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham. That's right. I mean, there have been a couple of English players who've not worked out over there. There was a guy called Denzel Boadu, who was the first English player to come out, and he basically didn't work out. And on the whole, though, they've had some good Scottish players as well: Murdo McLeod, Paul Lambert, and so on. I think
Yeah, I remember Lambert.
Forget Paul Lambert.
Was that the season that they won the
97 Champions League?
Yeah, I remember that.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, I remember having a big hand in that. It was an incredible team that at the time.
That's right. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, it's a club that nurtures talent. It's a club that basically has that policy, and they have to have, because it's not a very rich city. It's a former coal and steel mining, coal and steel city, and they have to do what they can.
Yeah,
and they do, and I
they
think
do a great job of it,
and it's
as well,
impressively, and it's very attractive as well. Very attractive football.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that impresses me the most is the consistency with it. There's no, very rarely is there any drop off in that competition. Even when they sell off their big stars for big money, there's never you never see a massive drop off. Their recruitment is second to none, I would say. I think they've always been incredibly good at picking up the right people at the right time.
Well, I think the problem with Borussia Dortmund is that they suffer from sheer pressure from the fans of having to deliver silverware every single season. But then when you've got average gates of over 80,000, it's somehow understandable. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to keep rebuilding the club, but they do seem to manage season after season, as you say. And you'll definitely see a young, hungry side who actually their main strength on Tuesday night will be their defensive performance. So I said that before the Manchester City game as well, and then they let 4 in. So hopefully they won't do that again. But I think you've got it's game on, basically everything to play for. You've got 2 games where there is a potential, I'd say 4 points in it. I would be surprised if the game doesn't end in a draw on Tuesday night.
Really?
And I think that
I think we're more optimistic about Dortmund's chances than you are.
Well, it's the Premier League,
Yeah.
I think that I'd say everything to play for, basically. So we'll just have to see what your form is like on the night.
I think that we have absolutely nothing to lose on Tuesday.
That's right.
I think we have to turn up. We have to throw everything at it. And if I look back at last season's Europa League journey to the final, we played. Ange Postecoglou played in a very specific way. He set up to do the same thing in every game and make every other team deal with that, except for the last 2 stages of the Europa League where we played Bodo Glimt and Frankfurt and then Bodo Glimt in the quarters and semis, and we played a far more defensive, far grittier game than we played the rest of the season. Like, I think if he'd have played that way in a couple of the league games, we might have not finished 17th. So that was interesting. And I think that from what I've read since then is that the players had a lot to do with that. They just decided that they were going to play differently, and it worked. And so maybe hopefully the players are looking to have build a bit of pride in themselves and for the supporters, and that we see a more determined, more gritty performance. But as you say, everything to play for. I'd take a draw at the moment. I think that would be a good result for Tottenham. Certainly going into the Frankfurt being the last game, but you've got to look at the next game for Dortmund. Inter is going to be a tough match, I would say as well.
Yeah, I mean it is, and I think Dortmund is away, they'd probably be very happy with a point and then hopefully beat Inter in the final game of the season.
Yeah.
In the final game of the group stage. So I think, it's wide open basically. And, I think Dortmund would prefer not to have to play the playoff games, that they would prefer to go straight through. But it is going to be very tight. I mean, let's not forget you're dealing with Liverpool and Real Madrid and so on at there. I suspect Atalanta are probably not going to be in the top 8. But there's a lot to play for, as you said, and I think you should go in with courage of your conviction, basically. Dare to win or dare to succeed?
To dare is to do.
Dare to dream?
Yeah.
To dare is to do. There you are. To dare is to do. So
yeah,
so that's it. So
there's been a lot of daring and not a lot of doing this season.
Yeah, well, Union Berlin had the same situation when they were in the Champions League. They basically ended up in the bottom 6, and a lot of it then depends on the depth of squad. What have you got off the bench, basically? So anyway, I mean, Borussia going in with the knowledge that they can basically still qualify in the last 8. They're out of the cup. I'd say they're definitely out of the league in terms of winning the title. And I think it's 9 or 11 points behind Bayern, and Bayern have only lost one game this season. So I see that going on until the end of the season. And Dortmund aim for at least quarterfinals every season. And let's not forget they're in the Champions League final in 2024 at Wembley. So they'll be looking to put on a good performance. But I think realistically, it's everything to play for on Tuesday night.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fingers crossed that we get a decent game for all the supporters.
Absolutely. I think it's a night for the supporters at the end of the day. And it's going to be one that everyone should savour and enjoy. I mean, 2 great European clubs, one of the best stadiums in the world, and the Borussia Dortmund ultras and fans will be there in force. You've got more than 3,000 coming from Dortmund, and they will make themselves heard. So it'll be interesting to see what the response is at White Hart at Tottenham. Let's see whether you can raise the roof. And it's going to be a fantastic night of European football, and this is what we all love in football, and this is why we're there. So let's make the best of it.
These are the kind of nights that you kind of look forward to, aren't they?
They are. These are the nights you look forward to. It's a lot of common heritage, and we've always been treated well when we went to Tottenham. So I think this will be another great European night.
All right. Ben, thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much, Graeme. Great stuff. Cheers, mate.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Ben as much as I did. Again, apologies for the technical problems, but thanks very much for listening in. Thanks to everyone who's listened and watched. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Tottenham supporters. And to close us out, come on you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day.